Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people seem to think they can do no wrong and that they deserve more than others just by being themselves. Guys, before we dive into the stories today, you gotta see this. So I'm guessing this is some sort of a date they're trying to set up. And this person says, "Let's go together soon." And Laura responds, "Wait, random, but how much do you make every year?" 60K, lol. Oof, that's not six figures. But you work at Taco Bell. And she responds, "Yeah, for now," and gives him a peace sign. Yeah, so I'm guessing they're not gonna go anywhere together anytime soon. 60K is not too bad of a salary if you ask me. It's better than minimum wage at Taco Bell. My friends, in this episode, you'll hear 4 super entitled stories. So the first story, a server doesn't think OP tipped enough. The second story, an entitled bro learns really quick not to mess with a bartender. The third, OP teaches a Karen a lesson, and we'll finish up with a Karen who cut a line at a gas station. My friends, get ready to shake your head at some of these people, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future stories. Let's dive in. So a couple months back, my boyfriend and I went out for drinks one night at this cool little speakeasy in Montreal. Now, it's actually quite an interesting place. It was in a touristy area, and you come through a nondescript entrance, and the place has a really nice vibe going on once you get inside. Now, I want to note that this is one of those bars where the server comes to your table and serves the drinks, rather than one where you order at the bar and take the drinks back yourself. We were seated at our table by the server. We ordered a couple of cocktails, and then a couple more, and then a couple more after that. Each time we had to order, my boyfriend or I would have to go fetch the server, so he would take our order. Or we would have to go to the actual bartender to order and then bring the drinks back ourselves. When it came time for the bill, I went up again so he would come to our table. He then came and thought that we were going to order again despite me clearly asking for the bill when I went up. He went back to get the card machine, and it was another 10 minutes before he was back. At this point, I was quite ticked off at the not so great service and was debating whether or not I should tip. The screen had an option for 10%, 15%, 20%, or other. I decided to just leave 10% as I wanted to avoid an argument with the server. Montreal service employees are pretty damn notorious when it comes to the expectation of tips. Now, he prints out the receipt and takes a look at it and sees that I left 10%. He then asked if we had a nice evening, to which my boyfriend responded that we did. We both thought it was just a standard question that servers ask, so we didn't bother telling him about the poor service, especially because it would not really make a difference at this point. So the guy then says, "Oh, well, if you had such a nice time, then you should have left at least a 15% tip or more. You know, in Canada, it's customary to at least leave a 15% tip when the service is good." Now, I'm guessing he said this because my skin is brown and we're in an area with high tourism. Now here comes the part where I get petty. I responded, "Oh, I didn't know. Why don't you cancel this bill and redo it so I can tip you properly?" He smiled smugly. He said, "Sure thing, just give me a second because the manager has to approve bill cancellations." Again, we waited a good 10 minutes for him to come back with the new bill. I was happy to wait though, because once he came back, I put in the PIN and selected the other option for tip and left him 0%. He printed out the receipt and the look of disbelief was well worth it. We got up and my boyfriend said, "Our only tip for you is to give better service and not be so much of an entitled a-hole. In Canada, we really don't like them." Oof, way to shut down this entitled server, guys. How embarrassing must it have been for this guy to expect more than 15% and in the end, only getting 0? So this person's comment sums it up perfectly. He says, "I'll leave a decent tip in most situations just because I've worked in food service before and I know how crappy it can be. But if a server has the chutzpah to ask for a better tip, then screw that. Tips are earned, not begged." So with that said, my friends, how do you feel about OP handling the situation? Did the entitled server deserve what he got? Do leave your comments below. I've worked as a bartender in a small cocktail bar for some time now, and I'm usually chill. But bullies can still push my buttons in a wrong way. Before starting, I may be in the wrong for doing this, but it is what it is. So a week ago, a bunch of guys came in for a few. They seemed like okay dudes. Early 20s, but the group dynamic was kind of off. Introducing the main antagonist, an obnoxious guy. Too loud, entitled, snapping his fingers at me when ordering, punching his friends in the shoulder all the time. He looked like a sportier, really aggressive version of David Spade. Now, next to David Spade sat the victim of most of his playful teasings. silently enduring his crap. I felt really sorry for this guy. He wasn't a drinker, but he looked like he would have rather been drinking distilled devil's piss than continue sitting next to this macho maniac. He was really uncomfortable. David continued to bug him to take at least a shot, saying, "Come on, take one with me, don't be a pussy." Until, after a whole night of persuasion, finally the dude waved the white flag and said, "Okay, let's do one shot together, then leave me be." This idiot then shouted at me, snapping his fingers, saying, "Two of your most messed up shots." While I imagined snapping his neck, I'm thinking, "Oh, you'll get a messed up shot, buddy." I made this 2-layered shots, but while looking almost the same, they were different. David got stuff like Red Jock's Absinthe, Stro, Tabasco, really nasty business altogether. And the other guy got mostly syrups, juices, and harmless stuff. They looked almost identical. Red Absinthe can pass visually as cranberry juice, Stro was a syrup from brown sugar, Sambuca as anything colorless, etc. So they take their shots and all hell broke loose. The other guy chugged his shot like a champion, not even flinching, as why would he? He drank juice. But David Spade. Boy, oh boy. He looked like he'd had a brain aneurysm. He had tears pouring from his eyes, he was coughing like his lungs wanted to come out, and he had the face and posture of a man who just got waterboarded with some sort of chili sauce. The other guy looked surprised until he caught a wink from me, but David Spade and the rest of the crew, now roaring with laughter about his misery, suspected nothing. The poor dude was then left alone, and David was a good boy for the rest of the night, deflatedly enduring small mockings from his fellows. Now, I may have used my powers in the wrong way, but this was my first and only time I messed with customers' drinks, and I regret nothing. He was rude, entitled, aggressive even, to everybody around him. Hey man, not all heroes wear capes. I freaking love OP for doing this. Not for tampering with a customer's drinks, but putting the entitled guy in his place and making him look like an absolute fool. And along the way, making the quiet guy who was picked on all night look like a champ in front of all of his buddies. Bravo, sir. Bravo. My friend is a hairdresser by trade and works at a very upscale salon. I go to her myself and can attest to her being amazing. Anyway, this salon had one customer who had been passed around from hairdresser to hairdresser, bullying every single one she saw. This woman was an absolute holy terror. She made count 'em, 3 separate hairdressers cry. The only reason she was still a client of the salon was that her mom was friends with the owner. She was a relatively young gal, maybe in her mid-20s, with very long blonde hair that she insisted to everybody who wasn't her hairdresser that was her natural hair color. It was very much not. She went to the salon all the time, so nobody would ever find out her secret shame. She blamed her hairdresser for all of her hair problems and was never satisfied with anything. So everything shuts down in our state, and she screams at my friend to come do her hair for her because she can't have her boyfriend finding out that she's not a natural blonde. Anyway, my friend refuses, and despite Karen's threats, she knows that the salon owner knows that she's too damn good at her job to fire her. So she thinks no more of it until a few months later when the salon reopens, and lo and behold, who should appear in the appointment book but Karen? So the day arrives and Karen shows up with her hair dyed jet black. My friend asks Karen what she wants done that day, and Karen demands to be made blonde again. My friend is like, okay, that's gonna be a process, because this Karen has used black box dye, which is really hard to get out. So, for those of you who don't know, getting dyed dark hair to blonde is usually something done in stages, so the hair has a chance to recover a bit between bleaching sessions to avoid breakage. Karen's like, no, I'm gonna be blonde when I leave here today, or I'm telling your boss that you see clients at home sometimes and getting you fired. She also said it's your fault that I had to dye my own hair this color because my boyfriend would have seen my roots if I hadn't done something. Now, my friend is tired of Karen's BS at this point, but it's a slow day, and she has time. She explains to Karen that if she takes her blonde all in one go, that her hair will be fried, and she'll likely end up losing a lot of length. Karen scoffs, rolls her eyes, and says, "That's never happened before. My hair is so healthy. I'm sure it's gonna be fine if you don't screw it up." So my friend recommends at least using a product that helps prevent damage. Karen says she thinks it's a scam to overcharge customers and she won't pay for it. My friend is like, okay, but makes several coworkers be witnesses that this is what Karen is asking for after my friend explained the risks. Meanwhile, my friend has formulated a fiendish scheme. So after that, my friend goes through the whole process of bleaching Karen's hair. She has to do it like 4 times or something, and she checks with Karen after each one if she's absolutely sure that she has to be all the way back to champagne blonde by the end of the day. Karen insists that her boyfriend hates her hair anything but her natural blonde. So with each bleaching, there's more breakage and Karen's hair feels worse. My friend knows Karen's hair won't survive this, but Karen absolutely refuses to let her stop. Eventually, at long last, my friend manages to get Karen's hair to the required level, so then she starts to rinse Karen's hair, and it starts breaking off in her hand. The length of her hair is melted, fried, and destroyed. My friend gets the bleach out and immediately conditions the ever-loving crap out of her hair while explaining to Karen exactly what my friend said would happen has happened. Now, Karen says she must be exaggerating and insists that it's fine. My friend wraps up what's left of Karen's hair in a towel and takes her back over to her station, where she shows Karen the problem. Everything past a little beyond chin length is pretty much gone. Karen shrieks and accuses my friend of everything under the sun. Incompetence, operating a business without a license, personal vendetta, etc., etc. My friend eventually calms her down and tells her that she'll do her best to cut it so it looks decent for free. She even has the perfect cut in mind. It'll suit Karen perfectly. My friend gives Karen the sharpest, most beautifully cut angled bob you've ever seen, blown out and styled to "Can I speak to the manager" perfection, and Karen starts crying because the cut makes her look 40 years old, and she wants to speak to the manager. My friend gets the manager and Karen throws a fit, threatening to sue, how dare they, how this employee did this to mock her, so on and so forth, while my friend stands there looking completely innocent. The boss then asks my friend her side of the story, and all the other hairdressers back her up, saying that the cut is just her trying to make the best of what's left of her hair. Even the boss by now is sick of Karen's BS, and Karen is forced to pay the huge sum of money owed for how much time was spent bleaching her hair, and she leaves swearing to never come back. Her boyfriend, a cop, calls up later and threatens to assault my friend for doing that to Karen's hair, as it's against his wishes. My friend tells him that if he tries anything, she's gonna tell his superiors and every news agency in the city. Nothing further happens, but he eventually dumps Karen because he doesn't like girls with short hair. Guys, that bleaching gone wrong was definitely a blessing in disguise. There's no way that she could have hidden her fake blonde hair from that guy forever. Why live a lie? The fact that he called the hair salon threatening to assault OP's friend for doing that, while he has a duty to serve and protect, is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why they didn't report him, they should have. The guy sounds totally nutso. He didn't allow Karen to have a certain hairstyle, and he broke up with her because of short hair. I think it's safe to say that it's a good thing that she's out of that relationship. So, I work as a cashier in a gas station in Miami Gardens, in Florida. Naturally, the people that come into the store tend to be on the crazier side. The store has a line of maybe 7 people. Now, at this point, I had the register closed sign up and I was stocking vaporizers and accessories on shelves behind the counter. My coworker was handling the customers in line and I turn to her when I hear the door opening. Another lady walks in without a mask on. I politely ask, "Excuse me, miss, do you have a mask that you can put on?" Now, she scoffed at me and rolled her eyes as she dug into her purse for a minute or two. Finally, she pulls out this ratty little mask with only one functional strap and holds it to her face while she's waiting in line. Well, apparently, she couldn't do that for very long. She comes up to the front of the line ranting and raving how the line is too long and that we shouldn't be keeping a valued customer waiting. I tell her there's other things I have to do before closing and I have to get it done first. Now, she did not seem to like that at all. She said, "I demand that you open your register right now." Okay, you got it, lady. I moved the sign and then turned back to her and said, "Do me a favor and stand a little bit to your right." Surprisingly, she complied, albeit with her arms crossed and what I can only assume was an angry gaze firing through her mask. I yell out into the store, "Next customer." It dawns on her what I'm doing, but the next customer shoots up in front of the counter before she can even fully process it. I go about this transaction as normal, despite the fact that this lady is yelling at me at the top of her lungs. I finish up with the other customer and I turn to her and she tries to yell over me, so I raise my voice a bit and try to be as stern as possible saying, Just because my register is open now doesn't entitle you to skip all the other people in the line who also have lives, jobs, and other responsibilities. Get to the back of the line and be respectful, or I will have no choice but to have you removed from the store. The lady huffs loudly and walks to the spot in line that she had before she left. In the amount of time it took for the rest of the story to occur, more people had gotten in the line. She tried to argue that this was her spot originally, and I told her, I said to the back of the line. She dropped her shoulders and walked to the back like a toddler. People, man. I love the fact that this customer had no patience to wait and said to OP that she shouldn't keep valued customers waiting. Well, ma'am, everybody in line is a valued customer. Get off your high horse. The world does not revolve around you. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /Entitled People. Guys, we survived yet another one. If you missed the last episode of our /Entitled People, a Karen throws a tantrum demanding her old job back after she quits. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.